All right, I want to make a few comments about this particular psalm because, as you can imagine, the last verse where it says, "Blessed shall be he who takes your little ones and dashes them against the rocks." You probably won't find that on any T-shirts or any coffee mugs. And before we get into this particular psalm, I do want to say this, just by way of reminder. June 21st is Father's Day. I hope that those of you who have a father who is still with us will take the time to send a card, write a letter, make a phone call, do something to acknowledge his father and the role he played in your life.
Yeah.
Visit.
Good thing to do, June 21st. All right, this particular psalm, we've said before, the Psalms are an anthology. By that, we mean that we have different psalms in different time periods put together into one collection. And this one talks about by the waters of Babylon. By that we know this. David is the second king of Israel. We have Saul, then David, and Solomon. And we know that 1,000, roughly 1,000, is a time period of Saul. David, not too far after that. So the time of the Babylonian captivity is 586, because we have the split after Solomon. We have the northern kingdom and we have the southern kingdom. Northern kingdom goes into captivity in 722, Assyrian captivity. The southern kingdom goes into Babylonian captivity in 586. So we're in the Babylonian time period of the Babylonian captivity, 586 thereabouts, which means we're roughly 400 years since the start of the monarchy. And they are in Babylon, and this particular psalm is known as what's called an imprecatory psalm, where one is calling down God's wrath upon others for what others have done to them. So what is the theological basis for asking God to take their little ones and dash them against the rocks? Now notice, they're asking God to do it. They're not doing it to themselves. But that begs the question, again, you won't see these on a t-shirt or on a coffee mug. And oftentimes, these get left out of, these verses of the imprecatory Psalms get left out of liturgies. If you look at Lutheran liturgy and you look at other liturgies, they won't mention these verses. They just kind of bypass it. They'll read the first part and then leave off. The problem is this. We have too many imprecatory Psalms for them to be accidentally left in here. If somebody was editing this and missed all of these imprecatory Psalms, they did a really poor editing job. Because they're all over the place. We end up with a good numbering of them. Some whole Psalms given over to imprecation. That is, again, imprecation, calling down God's judgment for what others have done. But again, asking God to do it. And on what theological basis do they ask God to do these kinds of things? It starts with Genesis 12, where he says, "I will bless those who bless you, and I will curse those who curse you." Okay. So God said he would protect his people. Well, when they're being attacked, and we have the concept of measure for measure. Measure for measure comes in here as well. In other words, if this is what they are doing, do to them what they are doing to us so that it will stop, with the hope that it will stop. Yeah?
I was just thinking too, that if they do that with little ones, it'll stop there won't be any more.
Right.
They won't reproduce it.
Yeah, if you're taking out the little ones, it will cease the perpetuation of this. You cut off the line. But again, I want to make the point that we're asking God to do this, and this is based on his promise that he would bless those who bless you and curse those who curse you. So this is coming back to the promises of God and saying, hey, if they are doing this to us, do something to them that will keep this from happening. Cease from letting this happen. What other theological things come into play here that would allow for this? Do you think of other things that would bring this kind of prayer to the forefront? I mentioned measure for measure. That God will exact measure for measure. If they do this to you, I will do this to them. The Abrahamic covenant, yes.
I was also thinking too, like when the children, when Egypt was killing, making the people kill their babies, I mean, all the male
Right. Yeah.
Stop the, you know.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Okay, yes.
God dealing with Pharaoh the way Pharaoh dealt with Israel.
Yeah, that's measure for measure. That's what she's talking about, measure for measure.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, no, that's good.
Okay, you said it better.
You said it better. You said it better. You said it better. No. Okay, go ahead.
I'm going to butcher this, but I think it's King Hezekiah when he's got an Assyrian king, and I can't pronounce his name, that writes a letter that's evil. So Hezekiah takes the letter to the
That's Hezekiah, better answer.
and says, Lord, look at this. What are you going to do about this?
Yes. Okay, yeah, I think I know what you're talking about. Yeah. Just basically saying, okay, God, you've got to take care of this because this is what you promised.
Look at what they're saying about
Yeah, that's what
you.
they're saying about you, and you know, you got to take care of this because they're going to destroy us. Like I said, think about it this way. What are the 3 prayers you can pray when someone is oppressing you? We have not yet lived in time of oppression. Okay? But that's not happened to us yet. So for us to be in captivity or to be oppressed, it's difficult for us to understand how to pray these prayers. What can you pray when you're oppressed? You can pray a couple things. You can say, okay, Lord, thwart the efforts of my enemy. Stop them from being able to do what they're doing. That's one prayer. Confound the enemy, in other words. Or you can pray, Lord, remove me out of the enemy's path. Thwart their efforts. Remove me from the enemy, number 2. Or, Lord, before they destroy us, destroy them.
Trash them.
That's mine.
And I said it this way. Most of the time, you would think that we want the Lord to do it. Okay, so it's non-combative because I say, Lord, move me away from them. That's 1. Move them away from us. That's 2. Or destroy them before they destroy us. Now, let's go to a situation that didn't happen that long ago. And I'm bringing this up simply because I want us to think through it, because if we don't think through it ahead of time, when we get in the situation, it may be too late. September 11th, 2001. East Coast Americans go to the airport, and they're just going to get on an airplane like thousands, hundreds of thousands of people do every day. And they're just going to go from point A to point B. They just want to fly, and they just want to get to their destination. And on that particular day, evil individuals take over 4 airlines, 4 planes. 2 of them they run into Twin Towers. 1 they take to the Pentagon, and the other they're going to take to the U.S. Capitol. The Pentagon's hit, the 2 towers are hit, and those on plane number 4 are getting phone messages from people, and they found out that 3 planes have already gone down. And by the way, you're the 4th plane. And then they realize they've been hijacked. They can't breach the cabin. And now they're going to be used and killed to go into the Capitol building. And again, nobody got up that morning thinking that that was going to be how life went that day. And so they had a choice to make. They had a choice to make that day. Do we just let them use us and this plane as a bomb to go into the Capitol, and we're going to die? Or do we try to rush the cabin and take these people, and we also die? Either way, we die. What do?
Rush the cabin.
Yeah, and they rushed the cabin and took the plane down to the Pennsylvania field. Now, they died. They all died. They were going to die anyway, as it turned out. I mean, that was the plan. And they said, they rationalized this way. Do we just want to go down and ourselves die, or do we want to go down taking a bunch of other lives with us? We can thwart this. So maybe sometimes we end up in the process. we end up as part of the process with a decision to make that we never woke up thinking we'd have to make. Those individuals never thought that that would be a decision they had to make that day. But I think they made the right one. To say, you know what? We'll take this down. So what I'm saying is this. We live in a world where evil exists. Where individuals perpetuate evil.
Brent,
Yes.
they gave their lives that others might live.
Yeah, they gave their lives so that others might live.
We can't forget the fourth option, which is to pray for those who spitefully use,
Yes.
you know,
Oh, definitely.
ask.
Yeah, however, I suspect that praying for those in the cockpit of the fourth plane probably wasn't going to work. And let's go back to the four things you could do. I said we could pray to God towards their plans. That didn't seem like it was going to happen. Just three of the other four had already gone down. Pray that God removes you from them while you're trapped on a plane. So that's probably, you're getting away is not really a big option at that point. You could pray that God destroys them, and He could. That could happen. Or you could pray, okay, God, I'm stuck on a plane. They're taking this thing down. What do I do? And maybe at that situation, you rationalize that rather than be used as a means of killing other people, we're already gone. Let it end with us, instead of being used to kill others. Yeah.
Just for the reference of what I was horribly talking about.
No, you're fine.
2 Kings 19, starting at 14 is where Hezekiah takes the letter and prays. So
Yeah. No, that's a great reference. I think these are multiplied all over the place. I'm saying this: we have to deal with these imprecatory psalms because I think that they're imprecatory. I-M-P-R-E-C-A-T-O-R-Y. Imprecatory. Imprecation is just a technical term for calling down of judgment. Imprecation, asking God to judge. Yeah.
How do these line up with Messiah's words when he's like, place those who curse you?
Yeah. This is the other side, because people say, well, Jesus was loving and kind and turn the other cheek and go the extra mile. I think that there are different types of enemies. As I look at the scriptures, there are different types of enemies. There are enemies, we've talked about this before, there are enemies that are benign. And by that I mean, they speak against you, they're harassing, they're annoying, but they're not going to kill you. To those people you can turn the other cheek. So there are different types of enemies. If we treat every type of enemy the same, we're going to be in trouble, because these individuals, they wanted to destroy everybody. They want to cut your head off. So there's a difference between the enemy who says, Josh, I just don't like you, so you know what? Every morning when they deliver your paper, I'm going to steal it. Or, I'm going to let my dog,
play catch
do
with it
on your lawn. Or, I'm going to mess with you. It's not going to hurt you. It's not going to, they're not going to kill you. They have no evil intent necessarily. They're just mean-spirited. But they're not, not going to destroy you. That's one thing versus the person who's going to kill you and just wants to see you dead. That's a different type of enemy. So that's, yes, well, there's one over here. You have a question? Go ahead.
I don't know, I'm still thinking through it because
Oh, it's a tough one, I know.
Jesus talked about tax collectors, people who pitch you.
Right. Yeah. Although, here's what's interesting. Here's an interesting thought for you. In the book of Revelation, we have under the altar of God in the book of Revelation, we have the martyrs who are also calling down imprecation, and they're not condemned for it. They're actually resurrected martyrs. We're allowed to see them, and they're calling down imprecation in the same way as we have in the Psalms.
And
it's kind of interesting.
They're told
Here we are in the.
They're told to rest for a while until their numbers are increased.
Exactly.
The rest of
So
their
it's just
brothers
interesting.
died.
Yeah.
I'm saying this. I don't say we have all the answers, but I can tell you this: we got to wrestle with this a little bit more, because I don't think every enemy is the same. And as we're looking at these psalms, what do we do with them? Do we just say, well, here's what evangelical does. Here's what evangelicalism does with them. And I'm not comfortable with this either, for a lot of reasons. But evangelicalism says, well, these are the thoughts of a people who were worshiping a different God. So that the Psalms are from a different God. And so then what you do is you say, well, Jesus, remember our dichotomies that we start creating then. Well, Jesus is over here and he's love. And God's over here and he's just angry and ticked off. And this is Christians and this is Jews. And this is grace and this is law. And so we start doing bifurcations, and pretty soon, where does this end? And I think that then theologically we have a problem, because I think Yeshua and Yahweh, I can make a strong case that Yeshua and Yahweh are the same.
Yep. Absolutely.
And if these psalms are included in the Psalter, then we have to say, okay, what are we doing here? That's, yeah, go ahead.
Well, I'm thinking about the fact that Paul and the apostles were up against the Roman Empire and they were killing people, and they were that enemy, but we never see Paul or Peter or any of the other authors of the New Testament pray for babies to be killed.
Yeah, no, I agree. But I want to go back to what I said earlier, that in this prayer, what you're praying is that what's, in other words, measure for measure, what they're doing to us, may it be done to them.
Right, but we never see Paul do that. I like.
Yeah, and I
these songs, I see
right.
a natural human desire.
Right. But they end up in the Bible, and they're prayers of righteous individuals. So I'm going, and they're not. And the other thing is they're not excised. So it's one of those things that, what do we do? I mean, do we just say, well, we ignore these? These are the thoughts of an inferior people or inferior faith. I think that's a dangerous approach to go. And I would also make, just by way of argumentation, I would say, I don't base any of my theology on Paul. I mean, in the sense of ultimate theology. It all has to, and I'll talk about that later on today. I think our theology has better come first and foremost from the first 5 books and from those texts first. Then just, because Paul is silent. I'll give you another one that Paul's silent on. Here's another one that Paul is very silent on. And it's a big issue in the first century. Slavery. Paul is, I mean, we know that from history, we know that 7 out of 10 people in the Roman Empire were probably slaves. And you'd think that Paul would come out and just go, slavery is wrong, let's stop it. We got to end this now. He doesn't. In fact, with Philemon, he says, go back, Onesimus, go back to Philemon and lay this on my account. Now he tries to mitigate it by saying, put this on my account and let him come back to me and all that. But you don't see Paul just saying, oh, let's stop slavery, let's end it, it's got to go. So here's one of those silence issues, again, that he doesn't address. So it's a tough one because, all right, 1 and 2.
I was thinking, though, sometimes it's not about us and what we feel, it's about the greater good.
Right.
And I know that with the about the plane, I mean, what was, if they would have just said, oh, let's not do anything, blah, blah, then more people would have been killed.
Right.
So the greater good was to make a difference so that, yeah, we already know we're going to die, and those people know they're going to die. But if more people don't have to die, let's take care of this.
Right.
And so that's another thing.
I'd like it if it was easily left in the hands of God and we didn't have to do anything. That'd be nice.
Right. But I mean, but it's like the argument could be like, why would people go to war and fight wars? I mean,
Right.
it's the same thing.
And by the way, no, I'm not saying we have the definitive answers on all this, because I think there's a big issue here. I mean, it's a huge issue. I do think we have to wrestle with, what we have in the text. Is this the Word of God? And does it reflect a biblical sentiment?
Brent?
And my question would be this. I'm coming back to 1, 2, 3. Sometimes, for instance, you have an individual like David. You have an individual like David who just sees Goliath and says, you know what? How dare this uncircumcised Philistine blaspheme the living God? He's got to go.
Yeah.
I mean, in other words, where does it end? And again, these are big questions. These are big issues. And by the way, since God has a smite button, I've talked about that before. So let's talk about Acts 5. Acts 5 is well into our New Testament, and Ananias and Sapphira are taken down by God for lying to him. They lied to the Holy Spirit, and Ananias is fire. Boom.
Stealing from them.
Huh?
Stealing from them.
Stealing from God.
From God.
God just says, okay, bam, bam.
Brent?
So I hold on, I got one over here, one right here. Go ahead.
So I was thinking, looking at the apostolic scriptures,
Yeah.
you know, with Paul. I'm not looking at Paul, but I'm looking at what Yeshua, God in the flesh, what he himself said about, I did not come to bring peace. I came to bring a sword. And so,
Okay.
you know, we look at when we only focus on what Paul says, it's easy to
Right.
not see.
Right. And on this particular issue, I think for the most part, Paul's silent in the sense of directly addressing it. He doesn't directly address it. Like he doesn't directly address slavery. Okay, so I mean, there's a lot of things he's silent on. So, you know, what did he think? We don't know. That's a tough one.
Yeah, just pointing out that it's there in the apostolic scripture.
It is there in the apostolic text. Yeah, we don't. It's not as if we can just say, well, it's not there. Yeah.
It's true that Jesus told us, or Yeshua told us to pray for our enemies, but his disciples carried a sword.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. One, go ahead, and then two.
Again, it goes back to there's a time and place for everything.
Yes.
I mean, you could say that Jesus had contradictory statements, but at the same time, he said there's a time when you will draw a sword. He told Peter, not now,
Right.
put the sword away,
Right.
but keep it close.
Yeah.
And you allude to it by saying there's different types of enemies. There's
Right.
enemies that are just antagonists.
Right.
They're irritating, and there are those who want to kill you right now.
Right.
Now, and there's also different types of people to respond to that. David was a warrior. He looked at Goliath and go, "You think you're something? Dude, come here." And there's other people say, you know, there are people in our congregation who pack. There are people who cannot because they don't have the character to take another human life because that's a tough thing to do. So you're also addressing different types of people. Some people can't do that. Some people are not warriors. Some people are.
Right.
So you have all that, this salad going on.
Yeah. We got to end this. Go ahead. But
Me and my bride have discussed this for quite a while. We actually heard a guy, there was a question posed. If you came home, your kids were cowering in the corner, and your wife was being abused in front of you as you walked in, how would you react to that? And the guy said that he would I would get down on my knees and I would pray for this person. Dude, if I walked in on something like that, I would be all over that guy. I'm sorry, that's the way it goes.
There's a homicide
You know,
plan.
You know, there is that line that my bride, if I just did something like that, she probably wouldn't be my bride today. You know what I'm saying? It's a tough call. It really is a tough call.
I think one has the responsibility
Yeah, there it is.
to protect
Yeah.
and defend things
You have
that.
to be real careful in that moment as to whether you reacted to that person because you found hate in your own heart, or whether you reacted out of the righteous judgment of stopping what was wrong.
I don't think you're going to have that option at the time.
Right.
You ain't going to have time to weigh that option out.
You guys can.
We have to be quick at that decision. And
Anyone that will
That's
not
tough. Okay, go ahead.
protect their
Last one.
family is worse
Okay,
than
last
an
one.
infidel.
Good.
The concept of
I'm
enemy
just- that was
is
my
a really
reaction.
complicated concept.
Yes, it
because
is.
It's ideological, and who is against me. And, you know, there's spiritual enemies, physical, psychological, and then there's enemies that are evil.
Right.
And so when you're looking at the scriptures, I really think it's so important to try to look at, is the element of evil there? And what was Yeshua saying? There's an ideological enemy. It's like, you know, just walk away. It's
Right.
not worth it.
Right.
But then when it gets to, you know, like with satanic evil and possession that happens,
Right.
you have to protect yourself. That's a different enemy and a different level of response that's required.
Agreed.
So if you walk in and somebody is, you know, abusing you and killing your spouse, spiritually, physically, emotionally, there's an element of evil with that.
Right.
I mean, you have to take charge of that, because if you don't corral evil, it will spread.
Right.
Yep.
So-
and I'm going to end with this, that we have not, typically we have not faced oppression personally of our person. And we've not We've not faced oppression that wants to destroy us. We have yet to face, most of us, that type of oppression. I'll tell you where the closest you see that happen. We still have individuals that are bound by the evil one, who wants to control their life. I mean, literally control their life. And in those situations, we're dealing with some rough issues and some rough things. And so, ultimately, this type of hate and this type of evil will be dealt with. And the evidence for that is that when Yeshua is here on this earth, he excises demonic forces and says, okay, you gotta go, you gotta leave, you're out. He drives them out. So he's coming to do that ultimately on the grander scale. On the grander scale, he's doing that. I will say this: I'm neither a prophet nor the son of a prophet, but I do think this is going to happen. We are going to, as a nation, have to deal more and more with perpetual evil on our own soil.
Baltimore.
And so,
what's happening
how do we deal with it?
Yes.
And we have to be loving and kind, but also wise as serpents. And that's going to be something we have to work through. And I think these imprecatory psalms begin helping us to work through that. They're there for a purpose. They were left there, so I think we have to work through them. And I'm not saying there's easy answers to any of this. Easy answers to any of this. And like I said, going back to earlier comment, those people on the East Coast that got on those planes that day never thought for a moment that they'd have to deal with that kind of dilemma. But it's going to happen more and more. We're just going to see it more on this soil than we've ever seen it before in the near future. All right.